Hey everyone, I'm Jordan from the NSA Media team. I just want to thank you for making the What Have You podcast part of your weekly routine. To make it easier to keep up with each episode, the What Have You podcast will become its own channel starting in late January. To make sure you don't miss an episode, subscribe to the What Have You podcast in addition to the new St. Andrews podcast. Thanks again for listening, and enjoy the show.
Hear the world calling, but son, don't you listen. They're only trying to drag you back into prison, that's right.
Welcome back to What Have You. I'm Rachel Jankovic,
I'm Becca Merkel.
and we're here to talk about what we have.
Well, what do you have? Last time this goes back to the
Do we
New-
need to confess
New Year's.
about
Yeah,
our
New
already
Year's
recorded
resolution.
podcast that we
Yeah,
threw away?
New Year's resolution. We're like, okay.
It's such a
Okay.
picture of
It's
New
like,
Year's.
We're gonna have these things go up on Tuesday. Let's try and record them on the previous Thursday.
That would be
So that-
amazing.
There it is. It's in the tank. It's ready to go. If we need to do something about it, we have a few days to alter it.
we hit the ground
it.
running.
We
We
hit it.
recorded on Thursday.
Right out there.
But
we discovered that, like, we always think that we're bad at night. You know, like,
Oh.
at night we're going to be so dreary.
this was
But this was
hardcore
like-
worst case scenario.
This was like early afternoon. I
No.
came straight from class. I was totally brain dead after teaching 4 periods in a row. I hadn't had breakfast or lunch, and I had a weird headache.
And I was rededicating myself to my old system of only drinking 1 cup of coffee at 5:15 in the morning
Yeah,
and then
you
waiting until
can't.
after dinner. So in the afternoon,
You can't imagine
I was
how
just
flat
like,
this was.
bleh.
We kind of sat there. We did an entire podcast. Rachel was recommending recipes that were named things like blarg. And I was going oh, blarg.
there were a lot of like
Interesting.
silences, and then it was like no sooner did we close up shop that we were both like, we've got to throw that away. That was awful. So we should have just stopped earlier on. Stopped
Yeah,
ourselves
uh-huh.
up, but we didn't.
I think the thing was, I didn't know if you thought it was as bad as I thought it was, and probably vice versa.
It made it through on both of us. Made it through to our consciences that no, that was a bad episode.
it all felt very gray.
Yeah.
It
So
was like,
about
we
my
were kinda-
coffee,
we
my
were
coffee
kinda, like,
withdrawals.
laughing throughout.
Oh yeah,
though,
but
it
in
was
yeah.
with
in-
a sort of tinny.
So
kind
I
of
was
sound.
giving myself a week to adapt back to my schedule,
Sure.
and I was like, it's gonna take a little while. You know,
Yeah.
like I start trying to do things. It's like just trying to hone in on a schedule that's really productive and whatever. And I knew it was probably gonna take me like a week to get the hang of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was Thursday that we recorded it. On Friday, I had an amazing moment. It was like, it was on my way to go pick the kids up at school.
Mm-hmm.
And you know when you go to put a coat on and you put it on one arm and then you reach behind you to catch the other arm?
Yeah.
Well, I was failing to catch the other arm.
Yeah.
And I had this moment where I'm standing there trying to get my jacket on, and I actually thought, man, I'm actually doing a lot better today. I think it's come together for me, like about my schedule. When I realized I was trying to put Moses's jacket on. So I'm trying to squeeze myself into a 3T jacket while congratulating myself on being more up and at it. And I was like, all the timing and all the land, I'm reaching around like, why does this seem so restrictive? Turns out I'm not a 3T anymore.
Oh, darn.
Mm-hmm.
That's hilarious.
Well,
Yeah, so anyway, we threw that one away, guys, and now
And
we're
you're
back.
glad.
We're back in black, but it is, once again,
night.
basically when the thing is due.
Yeah, but that's okay because it's our second run through.
It's our run.
So tonight
Yeah.
when you called me, Becca calls and she's like, how about 7:30? Can you do 7:30? And I start answering, but I was in the middle of starting some sourdough dough, and for some reason when I went to put the kosher salt in, I you tear the scale, so I was just going for 20 grams of salt to add to this dough, but I have the whole bowl full of dough, and I'm adding 20 grams of salt
Mhm.
and 50 grams of water. But anyways, I go So, because it's 50 grams of water, I'm shaking the salt out of there, just like, this seems like a lot of salt. Yeah, this seems like a lot of salt. And I'm like, I've done that before. I was going to 50 grams on the salt instead of 20. And I actually, having the thought that this seems like more salt than I should be using, but just pressing on anyways. So when you called me, I had both hands in picking the salt off of the top. So I had salty dough hands that I was like trying to get rid of the excess salt.
Oh no.
And then you called me, and the way that I answered it, I had a vest on, like a puffy vest. It was kind of slippery. So between that, my salty hands, and my cheek wrongly given dominion over the screen, I think I hung up on you.
Yeah, you did.
But I couldn't remove.
That explains some of the deep silence that I was in.
Yeah, well, but I couldn't get it off of my ear.
Face, yeah.
But then it was like dialing again, and so you told me that you couldn't get through for a while. Well, on my end, there was a whole lot of noise making. Like we were trying to reconnect, things were happening. And then I pull it off and I see, no, I have been calling and calling and calling my daughter's former dance teacher.
Oh!
On my cheek while I do this. I assumed it was you, not just sort of generally tapping into my contacts, but I was. That's what I was doing.
My phone does this thing, and I've still not figured out what it is, but it's like some kind of fancy motion detecting thing, because I'll be walking along with it in my hand, not having touched anything, and it's just in my hand, and I look down and it has called someone. And I've figured out, I've narrowed it down to some kind of a, like, I had it sort of up with my elbow bent, and then I put it down, like down to straight arm, and then suddenly it calls somebody, but it never calls a predictable person. It's always like somebody who is...
It's always like, whoever would be the most awkward to call.
No, it's like number 4 in my recent call list or something. Like, it's a really bizarre... I have not figured out what its system is, but...
That's funny.
It happens to me every so often.
That is funny. No, nothing quite as fun as those accidental phone calls.
Have I told the story of our iPad troubles?
I don't think we have talked about this.
This was good. This was real good.
We've had similar ones, but yours have surpassed them.
It was great. It was great. Because we have an iPad, and our younger kids do not have phones. And we got rid of our landline because it was just silly. So we have cell phones, but our younger kids don't have cell phones. So if it's just the two of them at home, they actually can't call us, which is a pain. So, but they can text from the iPad.
Right.
However, the iPad, it shows up as if it is Ben's phone. So my husband Ben's phone. If I get a text from the iPad, it looks like it came from Ben.
Right.
Somehow we have a weird situation with our Apple IDs, and they all blob together. And anyway, so the iPad will be like my 14-year-old daughter, but it looks like it's from Ben.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm at the grocery store, she'll text and say, "Hey, could you pick up some whatever?" Well, sometime in there, she fired out a text that said, "Hey, can I watch an I Love Lucy?" But instead of sending it to me or to Ben, she sent it to a pastor locally in town.
But it doesn't just come through as, "Can I watch an I Love Lucy?" It's like, Ben Merkel is asking you, "Can I watch an I Love Lucy?"
Would it be okay?
Would it be okay
if I watch an I Love Lucy?
You're like, according to what standard? Why am I the boss of this, Ben?
It was so amazing. I loved it so much.
And it felt like, didn't she just
then... And then there was another one. She just
said, like, "Whoops," or something. Like, she didn't, there was no, like...
But then there was a fellow elder, a church elder, that received a similar mistext from home. And that one just said, "Hey, could you pick up some marshmallows?"
From Ben, though. From one elder to another. I'm just asking if you would pick up some marshmallows.
And he says, "I'm in Oregon." And he's like, "I assume that's for your wife, ha ha ha." But But I'm thinking, like, what a hilarious text from Ben to me. Like, I need marshmallows.
No, there's no explaining it
Please.
once it happens. You can't get out of it.
Please get me marshmallows.
No, and that oh, that's so good. I one time we were gone and Lena had Luke's phone. So I get the text. It was like, Mom, no. She said, so she texted one of Luke's random work contacts. She told me his name that she texted, and she was like, and the worst part is I called him Mama.
I love it.
It's so bad. It's just the hazards.
Gosh,
the hazards of
for sure.
texting.
I think that technology gives us such a great opportunity also to see be sure your sin will find you out.
Isn't that the truth?
You know, the person
Double dog
who,
truth.
whoopsie doops, I just sent that snarky pants email.
I
but
guess I
sent
just
it
shared
to the
that with
wrong
everybody.
person.
I guess
Oh,
I just
was that a public
was
post?
I gossiping about you?
Did I share that publicly? Whoops.
So funny.
It's like, oh, did you see I had liked that on Facebook?
So I just reread That Hideous Strength.
Oh, isn't it amazing?
It's so good, and it's been a long time. I'm kind of trying to
So
read.
great.
I'm kind of trying to read the books that I'm like some of my favorite books,
Yeah.
but that it can be many years
Yeah.
in between reading them.
Mhm.
And but I tell you, that banquet scene, I cannot stop snorting at the opening
Yeah.
of everybody
yeah.
getting. Oh my word! It's so
good. So good.
well done. I just loved it.
I think That Hideous Strength is one, we've probably talked about it before, but I think it's one you could just keep reading that one on a loop and get more out of it, because what he has to say about marriage, like, there is so much in there that is so profound about marriage and about submission and about authority and about
I noticed this time I laughed at the Mrs. Dimble's comment to Ivy about her husband not listening to her when she was talking, and then she
are
says,
made to be talked to.
"Oh," she says that at the beginning, and then later she says something about Ivy's trying to sympathize, like they never are listening, are they,
Yeah.
or something? And she says something like, "My dear, have you ever have you ever considered that no one could listen to all that we say?"
Yeah.
And I thought that was so funny, because it's true how much of the time we're like just blabbing about basically nothing in particular. It's like one other thing about the new dustpan that I prefer to the old dustpan. It was really on my mind about like
I like her bit about husbands are made to be talked to. It helps to concentrate their minds on what they're reading. Like the sound of a weir.
Oh, it's so funny. That was good.
I know. That's really
Yeah,
funny. Yeah, it's an excellent book.
It's such a good book, and it's just really, it's a delightful read. But I was glad that I reread that. And then I think I recently reread, the one we've talked about so many times, and all of our listeners have read, but you haven't.
Oh!
That one. I've reread that one, and I think I'm going to reread My Antonia next.
I've not read that one either. I have similar suspicions about that one.
Well,
it's about to be poignant.
I like My Antonia. Why you don't like poignancy in a book? This might explain you're basically a Woodhouse addict.
No, I haven't read Woodhouse in a long time. But I don't like cheap poignancy. I don't mind real poignancy, but I
Are
especially
you calling me a cheap poignancy
No, I'm just telling
aficionado?
No, I'm just saying that because I have such a peeve about cheap poignancy, it makes me leery about it.
Okay.
But I'm not doubting your story. I'm just saying it's kind of like
But it's pretty judgy for not having tried it.
well,
If you read one and came back to say you mind cheap poignancy, then we could discuss that. But minding cheap poignancy, when I say
When
that's
I
not
come
what
right
it is
down
and
to
you
it.
haven't tried it.
when I come right down to it, I have things that I'm trying to get done that
Right.
are keeping me busy.
I get
And
that.
so I just haven't gotten to it.
Yeah.
And then when I think about, it's like this is one of those rare moments when I could just read for fun, because I read, but most of the time it's not just like, curl up and just have a nice read. most of the time, that's if I'm on a trip with Ben, and by the time we get to the airline, I'm like, okay, now, here I am, sitting here, I can't do anything else, I'll just read.
Right.
And at that moment, I'm like, do I want something that's going to make me cry, or do I want something that's going to feel a bit more like fun, relaxing?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? That's my big excuse. My big, fat excuse.
Well, what I'm trying to do is read. I realize this is a funny thing to say, but I don't remember if I told you this. I just realized, so we live in the up north where the days are short in the winter. And people who move here from other places can have a very hard time acclimating to the winter town. Like,
Okay.
it is different. Like, I
Sure.
still think it's beautiful, but it is
Yeah.
a different kind of challenge. And I have been generally not that sympathetic about it. Like, I'm like, come on. You know,
Yeah.
like, whatever. It's the
Yeah.
way it is. Pony up. But then I just realized, and it came over me all at once, that I was like, I have a lot of winter coping mechanisms that I don't even think I acknowledge. Like, I've never, like, I didn't put them
Okay, tell me one.
in the basket.
Do I have it?
I think you do.
What is it?
Well, one of them was that I realized that I think I've been reading the cleaning, organizing, purging book every January for like 12 years.
For sure.
I do this every
That
single
happens.
time.
Oh, it happens.
But I
all the time.
realize how much that is a coping thing because it's always looking forward. It's always like, I'm reading this because I'm going to get, like,
Yeah.
because I'm moving out of this phase into
Yeah.
the next one. And
Uh-huh.
I'm like, and then I've also been reading, that's like I've been listening to audiobooks or reading at night before I go to bed. And I like cut back on how involved dinners are generally because I'm trying to clean or like I'm just moved back to a more, like you go back to a kind of, I don't know. I intentionally try to make space for myself to not, to like
Interesting.
think or breathe or kind of like,
Mhm.
so like when I get up early and I read my Bible and I do my prayer stuff and everything, then I will like knit or do some, Luke got me a really fun needlepoint for Christmas. So I'm going whole hog grandma and needle
Okay.
pointing also. But it's like I do that, I prioritize those things differently
Interesting.
than I do at other times. Like I realize, oh, I am actually.
You're kind of going into
I
hibernation.
do.
a
I
little
don't love going out as like I don't do as much stuff that would be kind of
bit. Yeah.
social. I don't like to go out after dinner. Like
Mhm.
even though I do sometimes, I don't like it. Like
No.
I prefer to just kind of be
That
home.
cozy up.
Yeah.
No, I think that's just like part of the whole
I think-
rhythm of everything.
But see, that's what I realized is that what I've always considered to just be rhythms of life
Mhm.
is I think actually coping mechanisms that
That's
I
funny.
think I've picked up some of them.
Do you
I'm
know
sure
what I
from
think
mom.
one is though? Is gardening to me is like as soon as Christmas is over,
You start coping
It's
by
like-
thinking of gardening.
it's like, okay, so if I'm gonna start some seeds, it'll have to be like February 1, so I should be thinking about the garden and I should be planning it out,
Yeah.
and then you get the seeds and start
Yeah.
planting it. Like
Totally.
I think it's
no,
got
that's
that
it's
sort of
it's definitely that. And the thing that struck me that I thought was funny is because I was talking to a friend who said that this is a time of year when she always feels homesick, even if she doesn't really want to be like she doesn't actually wish she was somewhere else. She
Sure.
just gets it. And I was like, oh, that's actually just the winter feeling. I was like,
Yeah.
because I've never associated it with somewhere else. Like I need to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
But I know exactly that same feeling, which
Mm-hmm.
is like the lighting is kind of bad. The situation is hard
You
to
know
be
what I
interested
think-
in.
you know what's
and
funny?
then, yeah, what?
I think I do it by planning an event. It's usually like a little ways out. I think your thing of like the annual reading of a cleaning book, which I always do too.
Yeah.
I started doing this when I was in England, and yeah, you get through Christmas, and then it's like, oh my gosh, it's 6 months till we see anybody again, and it's gonna be like a long
Yeah.
time. So I would start planning Easter. It would be like,
Yeah.
all right, so here's what we're gonna do, and
Got to
then just
get
like,
a jump start on the napkin rings now.
but yeah,
Yeah.
you think like a long ways out, and yeah, so
No, but you begin kind of the readiness of a different time. You're like, okay, now I'm going to start getting ready, and this is my chance to get ready. And I just never thought of it in terms of
That's
it being
funny.
how we cope. But one of the things, so C.S. Lewis talks in, I think it's Surprised by Joy, isn't it, where he talks about northernness? He probably talks
I
about
was
it
just
in other
talking
places.
about northernness with my daughter. She was reading
Well,
the
you should tell
Longfellow
her.
poem. You know that he said first triggered it. That's Balder the Beautiful is dead.
Oh,
is dead.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, the thing that I was going to say is a moment that happens, like on, not every, but often in the winter, on the short days, the shortest days of the winter, when it's kind of a gray day.
Yeah.
The sun comes out only when it's setting.
Like
So
piercing.
it comes out, and it comes out only when it's like all the way down at the level, like it gets under the clouds.
Yeah.
So when it gets under the clouds, everything just lights up for this minute, and it will be like still a dark gray sky, but all the trees are like on fire, gold under there.
Yeah.
And those moments to me is like that is northernness, because
Oh,
you
yeah.
know it is only gonna last like a few minutes, and you stand there like like take it all in, but you can't.
Yeah.
And you know it's about to end, and you
Yeah.
can't. It's like too beautiful to deal with.
Oh, well, that happens all the time though, because like all year
It
round.
does.
Because like the one that gets me is when it's early spring and the leaves are just so small still on the trees that
but
they're
they're
like
like
electric,
neon, like, yeah.
And then when the sun does that, and you have this
Oh yes,
this like
Oh,
dark
yes.
black sky, and then the crazy neon of
Yeah.
oh, it's like
so good.
Oh.
And then so the other day I was coming back from Costco, and the lighting and everything being all frosty and amazing, it actually felt like it was too, like we weren't allowed to look at it.
Yeah, I
Like
know.
I honestly was having that feeling of
Mm-hmm.
like I should not be allowed to
No.
look at this. And it gave me that real sense of like the beauty of holiness,
Mm-hmm.
of God's holiness, that like it, even though you know it's like a tiny fraction of a reflection of the kind of beauty of his holiness.
Yeah.
It still was like I shouldn't be allowed to see
I-
this. I don't deserve this. Like, this is too beautiful.
No,
I
there's
can't even.
definitely that sort of when you get kind of swallowed up or overwhelmed by the beauty of it. It's
Yes.
like, yeah, that's the northernness that I think. That
Yes,
Lewis
yes.
is talking
I remember
about.
the first
and it's
time-
funny because it can hit you all different, like totally different ways, different
Oh
times.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's part of the thing, is that you can never really
It's
capture
that
it.
yearning something.
Yeah, there's just something that's an intolerable yearning.
Like a
But for
tang
me,
in there
I've always
somewhere.
attributed it to like northernness, to like the desire for like spring and all of this, but never to being somewhere else. But for people who move here, I could see how all of those feelings would feel like we should go away from this place. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Just it was
Yeah.
an interesting thing. It made me laugh to
Well, I
realize.
think winter is especially geared towards making you look forward. That's kind of like what it does.
No, because
necessarily.
if you're our listeners who live somewhere where it's all sunny year round, which has a lot of beautiful things going for it, all this time is what you put. This is the work we put in to have the most unbelievable springs
yeah.
ever. Like when everyone, you feel like everyone's like basically out crying in the sun together. Or Luke always says it looks like the first warm day. He's like, it looks like someone shook out a shag rug.
It's
And
so
like out
funny.
comes staggering everyone all white
Oh,
and putting
but
on
in
their
shorts.
last year's khaki shorts that looked better when they had a tan. But we're all
No,
white and like
no, because-
pasty and like we can't help it.
But
We have
it's
to be
also
out.
when it's like 47 degrees, so they're still blue and goose
Oh yeah,
pimply,
oh yeah.
you know,
This is
it's
where
like-
the memes come from
Yeah.
of the people in Idaho at 40 degrees or having a picnic, because it feels, it's all about trajectory. Like 40 degrees feels just balmy after
yeah.
some stuff.
Oh yeah, I just love. So this is a good time to recommend the book if people enjoy gardening. It's called Down the Garden Path, and if you haven't read that one,
I
one
haven't.
is just a totally delightful read.
I thought you were going to say Truck, a Love Story, which has,
I haven't read that either.
you would really get a kick out of it. I felt like Truck took off strong and then ran out of gas at the end. But it was so unbelievably funny and witty about the gardening catalogs at the beginning that it's so good.
Well, this one is called Down the Garden Path by Beverly Nichols, and he's an English guy from the like early 20th century, and it's just he was sort of a London man about town who moved to the country and started to garden. And he has kind of it's actually a little bit like sad in there, because he has this obsession with trying to get things to bloom all year round, because I think he's just scared of death. You know, like
Yeah.
he just needs to see something in his garden all year round. But it's he writes really well. It's a really fun read, and then he has really funny little vignettes about his neighbor down the road who has the perfect garden, who's very critical of, you know, like
Yeah.
it's funny.
Huh.
And but I think this is the most exactly perfect time of year to read that book, because it
Yeah.
makes you get like,
Because you're in the
you
mood, you're
can
ready.
curl up, it's freezing cold and the ground is frozen and also like muddy at the same time.
So you're actually not behind on gardening.
No,
then.
you're not.
You're not
and it
behind.
can just like get you,
can
all
warm up.
ready to think about it. And it's kind of like slightly philosophical about gardening. You know, it's fun. It's a really fun one.
I was thinking about, we've talked before, or I feel like there have been some questions, or we've had like, somehow I feel like this has come up. Kind of that we've said, you know, be interested in things,
Yeah.
to be an interesting person.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it recently struck me how much God uses, how much those interests are really important in sharing the gospel. Because
Okay.
if Christians are very interested people, and they have lots of things that they have dabbled in, or they have a working knowledge, you know, like a baseline knowledge. I was just thinking about some of the rather obscure things that I have done that have been common ground for me
Sure.
with someone that I otherwise would have had
Mhm.
nothing else in common with them.
Yeah.
Like you have something you have some shared experience or some interest. And if you're not interested in a lot of things, it's very hard to connect with people who are not exactly in your little.
That's true. I think it just broadens you though as a person too.
I think it's worth
Like,
doing besides that, but I'm saying that's a side benefit
Yeah,
of
that's
it. Is that you are, because if you're an interested person, you could, you know, you're always willing to listen to other, you know what I mean? You're always willing to hear other, I don't know.
I just think this world is big and life is short, and we don't have very much time to try to get our heads around it, because it's like, you know, it's a little bit speedy, this life.
Isn't it? I have a thing to say though about my this year's cleaning book. Did you got the same one?
I got the same book, and I'm a
And-
little ways into it.
And how are you finding it?
Hilarious. Yeah, it's funny.
I agree. I think it's funny. So this year's pick from me was a super random grab bag. It was part of why I realized that I do this every year, is because I found myself, instead of having the book already that I
Yeah.
wanted to read, I was like, where's my organizing
Where
book?
is it? What can I do?
What? Which is so weird. But
Well-
I think like 2 years ago I read Life Changing Magic of Tidying Up.
Tidying up. I think I read
maybe
that.
3 years
Yeah,
ago.
3. I think I got that 3
And then
years
we
ago.
did the slob clums. The
Clums,
slob clums.
yeah.
The slob comes
Comes
clean.
Clean. We read
That
that
was
last year.
And you know the thing is that I maybe take away like 1 or 2 things from each one, but
know,
what
I-
it does for me is get my head into the
In the
problem,
game, yeah.
and then because I'm like, no, I don't agree with that. What I would like to do is not that, and then
Yeah.
you realize that you're actually thinking and have an opinion about this, and that's just
I
as
think
fruitful as
it
going
gives
by their
you-
method.
It gives me this really funny, because she's talking about it like, okay, I was a person who is a housekeeping
Messer.
messer, and I had to
This
figure
was
it
the
out.
same in the slob comes clean.
Yeah, there was a lot
Yeah.
of similarities, but she's like,
Not
what does
in
she
the
say?
life-changing
Like,
magic,
She doesn't
though.
say inept. It's like, house cleaning. Oh, what's the word she uses?
she's-
Anyway, like somebody who's naturally
She's
not
like, is it delayed?
gifted at it, and so
Or
I don't know. But then
impaired.
she's like impaired, housekeeping
Housekeeping
impaired.
impaired.
And she goes through and she's giving all of these systems, and she keeps saying now to someone who's good at housekeeping, they will think this is so
And then
obvious.
you're
Why
like-
did you ever think of
you're
this?
like, well, that's
And
me.
she's
Am
like-
I good at housekeeping?
And there's like, but the housekeeping impaired will feel like, whoa, that's life changing. And the funny part is, I keep looking at it like, I'm neither one of those, because I have the same problem, but it wasn't because I couldn't think of a solution. It's most of the time for me, it's because I've already invented the solution, but it's going to require 4 built-ins, and that's so far down the road because we still have to finish the kitchen first. So
Yeah.
we can't get to the built-in.
Well, it's
So,
because you don't
know.
you don't settle often.
No, I'm not. I have a bad problem there.
Yeah. So, but I am the great compromiser. My spiritual gift is not sticking to plan. I start out and I'm like, this isn't working.
I have like a horrible yearning for permanence.
Yeah,
Like-
Becca, that's why the built-ins for Becca is that in order to have your
built-in-
glasses in the right place, it needs to be a cupboard built to fit them.
Yeah, basically. I'm
But-
gonna probably have to design a special paper to like line the interior of the cupboard.
And
with.
then the problem is, do you get a new salt and pepper shaker and the whole system
And
is
the whole
blown?
system's blown,
It's
and
like,
you're like,
oh,
oh
we
man.
can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Well, I don't do that
Basically,
particular
everything
thing.
would have to be made of cast stone so that nothing ever breaks. It's like it's like I do have this yearning for permanence. I'm like, maybe that's what heaven will be like.
That's what eternity in
It
our
will be-
hearts
it will-
is.
yeah, it'll be permanent.
Eternally pin
You'll be able
caddied
to
in the right
figure
place.
it out without it all going to seed every other minute.
And the funny thing is that is not me. I don't yearn for that in the same way at
Well, it's
all.
funny because I always thought of you and Mom as big rearrangers because
Well, we are.
Mom and Rachel are always rearranging
Yeah.
things and you know, let me just redo this, and I'm always wanting the perfect built-in.
Becca, no, but you rearrange only on the quest for the final
That's the thing,
arrangement.
because I realized
She rearranges only in the hope of finding the resting place of
But-
everything.
that's the funny part is I realized I rearrange just as often as you. And I always thought of you guys as the rearrangers, but I always have this idea that I'll solve it. It's like I
This
will
is the
solve-
rearrange for all time.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
I'll just have it sorted, and then I'll be able to change out my throw pillows seasonally. And it's like,
And how's that working out for you so
well,
far?
Currently, I got no throw pillows because, you know, we're working on the built-ins.
Right, we gotta do in the final resting place of all the furniture.
Yeah.
So
it's
that's
bad.
the thing is that I do rearrange a lot, but not
So do I.
less now because I'm more often just frantically trying to clean up, not trying
Yeah.
to. I don't have the
Yeah.
time as often.
I'm getting a little bit closer. I'm starting to feel more like I've got kind of my head around what my furniture is supposed to be doing in my house, but
So
still not quite there yet.
So this book that we're both reading is called I Just Amazoned It Up. I can't even. I don't
I
even
will
know.
pull it up. It's in my
It's
Kindle.
called The House That Cleans Itself.
Oh yeah, there we go. That's what it is.
And I did think that the premise was funny. I mean,
It is funny. She's got a lot of good ideas in there, but
Yeah.
some of them are
odd.
well, and some of them are adaptable for me, and some of them.
Some of them
Aren't.
sound like the worst of all possible suggestions.
But some of it, I'm like, but see, I didn't have a problem there. My
Well,
problem is somewhere else. But that's
yes,
all right.
but the thing that I think was I still enjoy her.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you the thing that is the takeaway from this book for me. There's a number of little things here and there that I have been like, oh, that's interesting. Like, I'll take that into consideration.
Sure.
And a number that I've rejected already as being things I hate.
Yeah.
But I'll tell
But
you.
all of them she does throw out there as a like maybe this might help you if
yeah,
you're,
she's not being overly bossy
but like
at all.
installing a pull down blind
Yep, that was the one that gave me the heebie-jeebies.
on your kitchen counter to put your extra groceries that you didn't put away. Just
That's right.
pull a
I thought that
like,
was taking a lot of things way too far.
pull a blind down and hide them behind it. It's like, oops.
Well, see, that would stress me out so much
Well, mostly
that it
'cause
would
I
make
have
me
a-
never use it.
I
So
have a
I kind
deep
of
fear of roller
yeah,
blinds.
but think of if you put a blind under your counter to do that, and then you imagine yourself coming home with the groceries. Would you use it, or would you look at it and be like, not today, roller blind, not today. Watch me put these all away right away. Because, see, I think that would be really hard for me. You couldn't,
Well, 'cause to me,
you
it's-
wouldn't
it's sort of
ever
like-
leave the groceries on the floor if you had a roller blind there taunting you.
But my thought is like, what if you just
Put 'em away.
Put an upturned milk crate over them on the floor and used it as a seat.
Ooh.
And then you could do that with your
What if you had-
unattended
what if you-
groceries.
I thought that was weird too. Okay, so moving on though to the big takeaway. So I had not realized, because I knew nothing really about this book that I was snagging, except for that so I knew that the woman was a Christian because I think she writes Christian
Yeah, I think so.
novels, and I just I'm going to say something about that second. So she pops off with the occasional epic Christian cheese bob that comes out. But this is the thing that I've just got to say.
Mean by the epic Christian
Like, she's
cheese bob?
occasionally very cheesy in a uniquely Christian
I've
kind of a
not
way.
hit any of that.
Okay, but this is the thing, is it was pretty minor in the midst of a whole lot of great things. So that was the thing that was funny to me. So I just have to say, though, I did read The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, and I got, like, a couple things that I took away
Talk
from that
about
one.
worse
But
cheese
that's what I
bobs.
was going to say. We are not somehow embarrassed by someone talking about being the Shinto shrine maiden and where to put all of your, like, overly anxiety-ridden clutter
No.
problems. We're like, well, she's just really unique. And you're like, but then if it's a Christian sister who does something like a roller blind under, you're like, I can't even think about this. It's too stressful. So, but the point is, I pop into this chapter where I felt like this was just like, it was so good and so funny all at one time. And I think it was because I didn't really, I wasn't expecting this to be a religious book,
Okay.
right? So this chapter is like, I saved the last step, which is really the most important step for this chapter, so that hopefully you're already like into the book, you're already into thinking about it. Well, I'm sure that you've heard of prayer walks, which is a thing that Christians do. Not all Christians, but many Christians do. Which is when you just like walk through your neighborhood and you pray. When you're passing each house, you just pray for the people in that house. So you're not anointing the neighborhood with oil. You're just praying to the Lord as you walk by places.
Okay.
So it's basically like working your way through your prayer card
Yeah.
at your, as you walk. And so she says, I guess her church really recommends this. And she's like, so this is the most important step that you need to do. She was like, you need to prayer walk your house. And she's like, start at the front door. She talks about, this is what I meant by the occasional cheese of like, you need to make sure that
This is nowhere near as weird as Marie
thanking your
Kondo.
chapstick for helping you in your hour
like
of need.
Speaking to your sweaters. But
Yeah,
anyway.
exactly. Or saying, good night, purse.
Yeah.
Rest well. So, anyways, she talks about it, praying your way through your house. And she said, and see, I felt like she threw a few things in there that were embarrassing to me in her description of doing it. There were some things that made me blush even imagining such a time when she's like, if you don't have something, like, it's like if you don't have something to say at some point, sing a verse of Our God is an Awesome God, or dance before the Lord. And the idea of just solo dancing before the Lord in your bathroom is one that does not cut with the grain of my
Of our very sort of
Scottish dispositions. Yeah. Our northern behaviors.
Speaking of
But I
northernness.
have to say that at the same time, it's not like I know as well as the rest of us that David danced before the Lord in a.
when he had the Ark of the Covenant.
I think that there was more cause for David to dance before the Lord, but at the same time, he was clearly caught up in a moment that was not
Sure.
making him look cool.
Yeah.
And I just think, whatever. If you're gonna do that, good on you. Like, but I immediately felt like challenge accepted. Whatever your name is, Mindy Starnes Clark or something. I'm like, because I can't read someone telling me to pray my way through my house and then dismiss it. Like, be like, nah, I don't need to. So I was like, well, I definitely need to try that. Mostly because it was shockingly, to me, seems so obvious. And I do like already, probably I would say 70% of that I already do. Like when you're folding the laundry and you just pray for different people, or you're like, pray about your house. But the thing that I thought was really interesting is that you don't even think, like, your petty troubles. Like, so, for instance, I had a toothbrush problem.
Fiasco.
I have had a running toothbrush problem for all
We
my
have
life,
a strange
basically.
toothbrush conundrum.
Yeah. They are not easy to deal with when you have so many of them.
Yeah, and when you have too many, and then you're like, wait,
How did we get 49 toothbrushes?
this is not tallying up.
I just bought new toothbrushes for everyone, and I actually sent people with garbage bags to collect other toothbrushes. Any toothbrushes that are rogue in this
Yeah.
house, collect them now. So, anyways, the thing that that I realized is that, you know, the processing of a little problem like that, like, oh, I have this little annoyance.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, I might talk to a friend about it. I might think about it. I might Google something. I might start shopping on Amazon.
Yeah.
What I did not do at any time in that is take it to the Lord, because you feel like this is a really petty, dumb
Sure.
thing, you know? But you're spending time on it, and you're
Yeah.
spending mental energy on it. Why would you not pray about it?
Yeah.
And that was the thing that I felt like was quite a little bit of a challenge accepted, because I've prayed it over many parts of our house, but I had not, I'll be willing to admit here, prayed over our bathrooms at any time. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and as though, and like I say that, and it's kind of funny to say like I hadn't prayed about our bathrooms or looking into our bathrooms, wasn't praying about them. But that's really kind of shameful when you think about the luxury that is our bathrooms. Do you know what I mean? Like, to not even have been like major Thanksgivings here. We
That's
have hot
funny.
running water and a toilet.
That's funny.
Well, come on, have you prayed into your bathroom?
I know that I have thanked the Lord for those things before. Yes.
Godlier than I am,
Yeah,
apparently.
that's
I mean,
what just came out there.
I might have thanked him for them at some time, but
But no,
not this
I-
way.
No,
was-
I have not made a practice of just like praying around a room. you
Right.
know?
And the thing that was interesting to me, and the reason I'm recommending that all of our listeners do it, is that we do believe that that your work at home is potent and powerful and important,
Mhm.
and that why are we not asking God to help it be more and more so
Yeah.
as we submit it to Him and want to please Him with what we're doing and how we're spending our time in our homes. And
And also, nothing is too small to take to God. you
no,
know?
totally.
So-
And one of the things that struck me already the first time that I did it, I had probably 3 really helpful sort of, you know, insights or like where it's just
Yeah.
approaching it that way gave me. But one of them is I realized, this is the kind that I think is helpful, is that, you know, looking at the living room, and I'm like, what would I pray about as regards our living room? Well, of course I'm praying for, you know, my children to grow up to be good friends, and that this place would be a place that they will always that they will always remember this as being a loving,
Yeah.
wonderful place to be, and that this will be formative in their lives, and that
Right.
this is, and the thing is that you pray that, and it's like yes and amen, and you're like, great, because of course I believed that before, but
Yeah.
something about saying it made it so that later on in the day, when the kids are all sprawled out in the living room and playing cards with each other, what I'm seeing is an answer to prayer.
Yeah.
Not the mess I need to clean up or
Yeah.
the things like what I like reoriented my thinking
Right.
about it in a way that was really positive. So
That's good.
that's what I'm recommending.
Well, I am not there yet in the book, so
So next,
we shall see.
yeah, I need to press on past that. I felt like I'd reached the pinnacle of what would be helpful to me in that book, and then I kind of petered off, but I need to get back onto it.
Yeah, I'm still in the early bits where she's having you walk through the whole house and make a list of all the things you see, but I don't have time. So,
No, but I didn't actually do it, but I still thought it was a funny, helpful thing.
no, it is.
Like,
It's
I
a
thought
great idea.
I
If
was
I
like-
had a spare day, I would like
well,
totally do
even
it.
if you don't do it, the way that you think about it, like what do these items that get bogged down here have in common?
I like her just saying you should approach your house like a detective.
Yeah.
Like, figure out why is this mess continuing to be here and what can we do to solve it.
Right.
And that is kind of like, it's just a tiny adjustment in how you think of it,
Mhm.
but it does make a difference. I mean,
Well,
it-
she's big on the like don't make systems that bet on you changing.
that was a very good insight. Like, change the house, don't try and change your personality.
Well, don't expect that you're just going to have no problem sticking to something that you've never done before.
yeah, because the thing is, like, of course people can change, but you certainly can't just flip a switch and, oh, now I'm OCD, so that's good.
Yeah, right. Now I'm really organized.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
funny. So I think that is really good, is trying to come up with systems in the house that will actually channel the problems where they occur. Try and sort
I
it
think
there.
I think the other thing that I like about reading different books is even if I don't love the approach or the idea or the whatever, people who took the time to write a book about homemaking or housekeeping are people who take it seriously.
Yeah.
And who are respecting it as a thing. And I actually think that my interest in this went all the way back to Mom's books that she had as a children of Do I Dust or Vacuum First?
Oh, I loved those.
And speed cleaning. And I read those
Oh.
for like leisure.
Hang tight. Speed cleaning.
Is the boss of the world, but
I
only
love it. If only I could do it.
If only I did it consistently, but I love it.
I love it a lot. There's a whole thing there that appeals deeply.
That's Don Aslett, right?
No.
No.
That's the Do I
He's
Dust or
Vacuum
Vacuum
first. Jeff Campbell is
Yeah,
speed cleaning.
speed cleaning, and dang, it's
And they
good.
like sell the supplies.
Yeah, they've
and
got a
you
whole
get the caddy.
catalog.
I have the apron.
I have some of the cleaning products.
Yeah, woo! We should team up and clean
I
the
made
house
some of
together.
the aprons for my children because it was sort of like, you know, like
Yeah.
you can do the bathroom and you can do the. Problem is, guess what? Guess what it comes down to?
Do you not have a built-in for your cleaning
Yeah,
supplies?
it's the built-in.
I think that's funny, except for it's also being a problem for me. Not that I need a built-in, but
No, you need a closet.
You
need
need
a
a place
shelf,
that you
you
can
need a
put the
thing.
caddy and the stuff,
Yeah,
and it
because-
needs to be because you have like a razor blade and like things that are decent
But I
stuff.
love
for
it
me,
because-
for me, it has to be somewhere that Moses cannot easily get into it.
And for me, it is currently sitting in a little weird heap at the bottom of the basement stairs.
That's the perfect place.
It
though.
is not
Perfect.
handy. No, it is not. And then you're like, you need something, and you go and have a rummage through the odd dusty pot down there. It's not good. It's like what it needs. What I need, guys, is a beautiful built-in cleaning closet with a light inside so that you can easily see what's. Yeah, that's not next up on the list. So
No, so
this is why the book, I think, is
well,
like,
Becca, I have
like
a
it taps
suggestion.
into a weird
I
gap.
have a great suggestion.
Don't talk to me about Rubbermaid drawer systems.
No, I'm not going to talk to you about that. All you need is a little roller blind mounted. Just stuff all your stuff behind
I know.
that little
To
roller
her
blind,
credit.
and no one will ever know.
To her credit, she did say that was kind of an odd one, but she'd seen it somewhere where it was done and it wasn't horrible or something. But I was really stalled out about
I did
that.
too. I really
I
got.
was like,
Mhm.
that
It seemed to me
is
almost like telling you to go just when
sweep
you
it
get
under
your
the rug.
It seemed like saying like when you get a load of laundry out of the dryer that you're not ready to fold, throw it in your bathtub. Like,
Yeah,
really?
yeah.
I don't think that's wise.
I know. The thing is, no, but the deal is, this is where I stall out, is she says go through, just right now, like walk through your house and write down the messes that you see and why are they there. Like, think about it. Why are they there? Mine, it's so obvious. In my living room, in my dining room, and then my front sort of room that has no name.
Is this
the
shortage
foyer.
of built-ins?
Well, yeah, because I don't have a coat, like I don't have a coat closet whatsoever in the whole downstairs. So I have coats, I have shoes, I have backpacks lying all over the downstairs. We are building a coat room. It is 80% done, but it is not yet, it doesn't have all the hooks up. As soon as all the hooks are there, then kids can hang their backpacks on the hooks and then they have a place to live. They don't have a place to live, and I don't have a closet. I don't have, so they just kind of go on the. They
Our
come in
house-
from school and they put them on the coffee table or on the sofa because then they sit down on the sofa and do their homework. So it's kind of
Yeah.
like it's. You know.
Our house has was not made to house as many people as we have, and it had an
Yeah.
addition put on, but they didn't expand the storage. You know, like the
Yeah.
basic. So the front hall, there's like this tiny little closet, which we use as kitchen overflow because we have too much stuff to keep in the, you know. And so we have like hooks and a long thing of bins with people's initials on them.
Yeah.
under a thing for shoes. But this time of year when people have boots too, becomes kind of a scene at the front door. You're like,
Yeah.
come in if you can.
Yeah.
Like, battle past this. They're all, I mean, even when everything's hanging up, it's just like standing off the wall really far.
Yeah.
We gotta
And
sort
see,
that
at least
out.
you have hooks, and I don't. So they just kind of scatter about. You know, it's like.
Yeah.
So anyway, and my problem is not that I can't see it or that I don't have an idea on how to fix it. It's just like, come on, we're in construction mode.
Well, what
We're
you should
trying.
do is just buy like a cheap coat rack and put it inside the door. You know,
But this is like your thing. Like, could your family's equipment live on a cheap coat rack?
no, but the coat's good.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a cheap coat rack. I could set it there.
You should just try it. That's what she said. She had that hot tip I thought was interesting. She was like, as many places as you can change an already existing bad habit into a tidy habit, do that. So she says, like, if there's a chair that you always throw your purse and coat on, swap it out for a coat rack.
That is one funny quirk that I have noticed about myself is that I put things back where I found them, regardless of whether that was where it goes. So I will, like, it's a ridiculous problem, because if I have everything where it goes, then I get it out and I put it right back, and I get it out and I put it right back, and it's just fine. But if one person puts the cheese grater in the wrong place,
then everyone does this, or
then I put it back there. Like, I'll get it out.
So you're
and
just
stick
easily
it back.
led.
I'm easily thwarted with my systems. Yeah, it's weird. So anyway, yeah, if I come in and I hang my purse on a hook, then I will do it every single day. I will hang it on that hook. But if I come in and I put it on the coffee table, then it just becomes a very odd habit of like, there's
That's
my
what I
purse.
do.
It's on the coffee table.
So I'm on a bread box binge.
Oh yeah, you are.
Yeah, I ordered my second bread box. But
What's this one for? Cleaning supplies.
no, it's not tall enough to do clean spice, but it
Speed
is.
cleaning system
It's-
box.
It's a smaller one. I would have probably gotten an all white one if I had seen it before I ordered my last one. But I thought my options were red or turquoise, and then I found an all white one.
Okay.
But there's one that's smaller, like it's not as long.
Yeah.
And right now I got it because I have my cookbook shelf, and there's one spot on the shelf that always ends up collecting the odd things, and stuff moves through it fast, but like if I find someone's earring
Yep.
on the floor, that's where I put it.
Yep.
And then or like the checkbook is there a lot, or the keys, but it is just a messy place where like it might be Luke's wallet, it might be like, it's just an odd collection of things on the top of the shelf.
Yeah.
So I ordered this because I was like, this is cute.
Yeah.
This would be great. But right now I got it. I got a table out of the garbage on Sunday.
Okay.
So
What garbage?
one near our house was a
Okay.
dumpster. On our way to church, I was like, that looks like something sort of cute by that dumpster off in the distance. It
Oh,
was
my
just
word.
beside it. And then on our way home, we turned off to go check it out. And it was, in fact, a cute table sitting
Okay.
by the dumpster. So we checked it in the back.
Yeah.
So right now, I have a lamp on it and a little plant somebody gave me that's cute. And then this box. But see, it's the perfect thing for like keeping hair things like brushes or hair
Yeah.
things. It would fit perfectly, the bigger one, on the back of a toilet with like extra toilet paper rolls, or like, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or on a bathroom counter with a blow dryer and a curling iron and stuff in it, because it's like a nice
Is it
big.
hinged? Does it have a hinge
Yes,
lid?
it's a hinged lid. So it's like the lift up, but it keeps closing, so it stays
Clever.
looking tidy.
I like
I'm
this.
afraid I'm slipping
How about
into.
pot holders next to your stove?
I'm afraid that I'm slipping into a bread box's solution for every problem I have right now. I'm like, oh, we should order a bread box for that. But you know,
I could get into it.
the
I
white
could
one
get
is
into it.
really cute and
Yeah.
simple. It's not. It's like.
I feel like the right containers also inspire you.
I think that that's happening because it's been many years that I have not bothered to buy new containers, because I'm like, I have a little basket, or I'll just use this, or I'll do that, and I don't do. And then I realize now I'm super psyched up about these particular containers.
awesome.
So we should probably wrap
We
this
should
thing
go
up, huh?
as we.
We
end
should
on the
blast
bread
off
box
home
note.
and try to organize up our life.
Yeah. So recommend. Hot tip.
Bread boxes for
Bread
all
boxes
things.
down the garden path. And
Yeah.
the speed cleaning book.
And actually,
And
if
system.
you have special, if you think about your own life system and you have special coping mechanisms for different times of the year, write in and tell us. Find out. Like, I've become a monster tea drinker right now, and that's a funny thing.
Well, we're kind of obviously both of us on a quest for good ideas. So if
Yeah.
somebody has them,
Mail them in.
fire those out.
Send it to our editors.
Well, how do we want them to put it on Facebook?
Put it on Facebook.
Put it on Facebook. It'd be great.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Have a good week.
Okay.
Talk to you next time.
Bye.
Bye.